Becoming a father doesn't mean you've already arrived. It means that you have new opportunities to grow while someone is watching your every move. This is about the tension between shaping a child while still being shaped yourself. I didn't know why I thought I was ready to raise a son. I was in the middle of my senior year of college playing basketball, probably thinking that I was way more mature than I really was. And then I realized that I had a lot of learning to do in order to finish raising myself. The thing is that once you have kids and once they start watching you, you don't get to pretend to know what you're doing anymore. You don't get to pretend to be mature and act in a way that will lead them into paths that you want them to take. You have to start being that person. I don't know about you, but I don't talk to a lot of other men about the weight of fatherhood. 5 years ago, when my son was born and I held him for the first time, there was a sense of relief that he was here safely after a long pregnancy and after being induced a little bit earlier than he was planning to be here. But also there was a weight of responsibility that I now had in my hands. This little person, this little human being was now my responsibility in order to shape into a man. And albeit I didn't get this right early on. I didn't have this sense of clarity about being a father. Now I was turning 2021, but now that I'm 26, about to turn 27 this year, and about to have 2 more kids now, I understand that a child needs more than just provisions. They need direction just as much as I do. Because I heard a quote one day, and this resonated with me pretty much to my core. My children won't become what I say. They will become what I am. They won't go to church because I tell them to. They won't read their Bible because I will tell them to. They won't be disciplined and follow their dreams because I tell them to. They'll do it because they see me doing it and want to use my life as an example or a template for theirs. And because of this, there usually then comes a fear. I know there was a fear in my life that, am I even enough? Do I have the ability in me to be the type of person that will lead them to their calling, to their purpose, to a productive life? Is it an imposter syndrome, or am I really enough to do it? And the thing is that you don't have to build while you're perfect. It is perfectly okay to build and raise a kid while you're broken. I know, at least for me, fatherhood doesn't wait until you're ready. Fatherhood doesn't wait until you saved enough money in the bank, until you put enough aside for their 423B plan, until you told God that, hey, I think I'm ready now. Me and my wife wanted to have 1 more kid, and now we have 2 on the way because that's just how things happen sometimes. And in moments when I was in college, there were moments when I was immature. There were moments when I wasn't the best husband I probably could have been. There were moments when I made financial decisions that probably could have been avoided or could have been allocated towards something more productive for our future. And I remember thinking in my early 20s that if I was the same person in 10 years and 15 years when my son needed me for help, would I be the type of person that I would have wanted to take advice from when I was in his shoes? And then, as I said, as I realized, in order to raise him, I had to finish raising myself first. I had to finish maturing to teach him how to mature. I had to finish growing in discipline to teach him how to be disciplined. I had to finish learning how to be responsible so that I could teach him responsibility. And at the same time, there's always going to be a tension in place when you are growing and leading at the same time. Every lesson you try to teach, you're still learning. Every video I post here on the channel, I still am growing in those areas myself as well. Things like patience, integrity, sacrifice, self-control, all of those things that I encourage you to do, I still work on day in and day out myself as well. And probably most importantly, the pressure to be consistent. One of my biggest regrets here on this channel is that my previous lack of ability to be consistent, to show up even when I don't feel like it, to not take months off because I didn't see the results. And I don't want that to be an example that my son will follow, that it is okay to give up when things don't go the way that you thought they would. So when looking back at this channel and looking at the channels that I started with that may not be posting, or the channels that kept posting and are way far ahead than I am, it forced me to realize the gap between what I am and what could be if I just kept going. And this is not to say to be jealous or envious of anyone else. This is to take a long look at yourself and to be completely accountable for the action that you did and didn't take and how that led to where you are now. There's a quote that I like to repeat in my head, that your life right now is the sum of the past 5 years of discipline that you implemented in your life. It's the sum of the past 5 years of action, whether you're financially stable now, whether you are in a dead-end job right now. It all comes down to what you did and the habits that you built over the last 5 years. And when thinking about this, I shifted my thinking from short-term gains to trying to make viral shorts to another form of legacy thinking. I stopped thinking in days and started thinking in decades. Because as a father, it's not about a YouTube channel. It's not about making $100,000 a year or satisfying a boss at a 9-to-5. It's about the kind of man that my children see me on a daily basis. So here are the things I decided to prioritize since becoming a father. Discipline over my habits, practicing self-control, saying no when things aren't a benefit to me, faith, putting God number 1 in my life, going to church, reading the Bible, learning who God is and knowing him so he can know me, not just practicing religion, but practicing a relationship with God, ownership over what I do and what I can do on a day-to-day basis. If I was stuck in a cubicle all day, I wouldn't be able to sit on the Tennessee River and record these videos when I felt like it. I would be leashed to one paycheck and have someone else in complete control of my life. And also character. Practicing day in and day out, being the type of person that I want him to be because I want to be that type of person myself. And ultimately, your child doesn't need perfection from you. What he needs and what I try to do is provide a presence and a visualization of progress so that he can see those traits in me and find those traits in himself as well. Because ultimately, I feel that there's a spiritual responsibility that you owe to your child. Because having a child is going to be both a blessing and a mirror of who you are. And what I like to think about is that when I was a senior in college, God did not give me a son because I was ready for a son. He gave me a son because he wanted to get me ready for the blessings that he had for me later in life. He wanted to mature me. He wanted to make me responsible and disciplined. And he wanted me to train in the things that I want to train my children in. And I think that the calling of a father is a sacred thing. It is not an optional thing to be there. It is 100% a requirement. And I think that the culture that I live in now has taken that responsibility for granted. Because even though you may not be able to influence an entire generation from one child, from one person, from being one father, you can provide a light that may influence other children who then may choose a calling similar to yours. I don't want to put the responsibility of the world on my shoulders because I know that there is something that only God can do and only God can change. But I do want to put the responsibilities that God has given me in terms of being a father to one child or 3 children soon, and use my resources to be the best father to that child that I can possibly be. To be present, to be active, and to be an example should not be taken for granted. So for me, even though I'm 26, going to 27, entering into unk status, as some people like to comment on my videos, that I still feel even to this day that I have a lot of raising to do myself. I have a lot of learning to do. I have a lot of lessons to go through before I feel that I have been matured. And I'm not quite sure that there will ever be a day where I feel that I am fully matured, because having some childlike ambitions, having some childlike tendencies is what allows me to see the beauty of this world. Coming out here to the Tennessee River and just seeing the clovers on the ground, watching the fish jump in the river behind me, all of those things that I wouldn't be able to see and love if my only goal was to become vice president of a Fortune 500 company one day. Yes, I believe that there are times for that, but having a childlike ambition is what has led me to growing this YouTube channel, changing my message from my videos to being purely personal finance to doing things that I enjoy in my life, like sharing the word of God, like doing some NBA G League videos. And this is a little bit off topic, but what you want to ultimately pursue is the unfair advantage that you have in your life. What is it that you can do that most other people can't do? Once you find that thing and once you pursue that thing with passion, I feel that you will have then found your purpose. If you found any value in this video, then please consider subscribing. And if so, I'll see you in the next one.